Yeah. So is it possible to start a bookkeeping business while you're overseas? I think it is. And the fact that your English is obviously perfect, it sounds like you're like a native English speaker. So I think that is really going to help you. I think some people might struggle if English isn't necessarily their first language and they're overseas, but it doesn't sound like that's your issue. How long are you going to be living in Vietnam? Is this like a permanent place, or are you just traveling for a year or two, or what's your plan? Okay, so you're basically gonna be living in Vietnam the whole time you want to start your bookkeeping business. Um, so I think some people might be less willing to trust you just because you're not like so many people ask me like, where are you located? I say, oh, I'm located in Pennsylvania. And I just feel like that just makes Americans feel a little bit better just knowing that I also live in America, because I feel like there's a lot of people in different countries who put, who do scams. Like, not saying one way or another about it, but just a lot of scams I feel like happen from people in different countries. So the trust is definitely broken, I think, with people who live in other countries. Not saying that you're going to do that. Obviously, you're not going to do that, but just I think that's going to kind of give you a difficult start right off the bat. Um, but with that being said, I definitely think it's possible, especially with you being a native English speaker. I think that also helps a lot. Not saying that it's not possible to do it if you weren't, but I think that helps. You're just going to need to work a little bit harder, I think, to build that trust because you're not located in America, which is fine. So I think it's possible. I think it's just going to be a little bit harder. And now, as far as training required, I heard you mention that you have already taken an accounting class or some accounting classes in college. Bookkeeping is really not hard. Bookkeeping is really not hard. QuickBooks, really not hard. Like, if you have zero experience, yes, it's going to be hard. But as soon as you spend 10 hours working in QuickBooks, you're going to know the majority of what you need to know. It's probably a lot like changing the oil in your car. Like, if you asked me to change the oil in my car right now, I would have no idea how to do it. But if I spent 2 or 3 hours trying to figure it out, I'm sure I would learn how to change the oil in my car, and then I guarantee you I'd be able to do it every 6 months for the rest of my life. Like, it's just one of those things where, like, if you don't know how to do it, it's impossible. But once you learn how to do it, it's not really that difficult to learn, and then it's not really that difficult to continue doing it. Like, bookkeeping is not like taxes are difficult because the tax code is near infinite and ever changing. But bookkeeping, you're really only doing three things. You're just categorizing transactions, you're reconciling accounts, and you're generating financial statements. Like, it's really not that complicated. And there's really not a whole lot of pressure on you to be like a quote unquote tax expert because you're not a CPA. You're just a bookkeeper. So you can play that to your advantage. I'm not saying that you're gonna approach your clients and be like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but you can be like, hey, like, if anybody asks you a complex tax question, you can be like, hey, that sounds like a better question for your CPA. Like, I'm a bookkeeping expert, I'm not a tax expert. So that's kind of a more complex question. So I would ask that to your CPA. So with all that being said, the training and the certifications required for you to start your business, like, I think you probably already have enough accounting knowledge and you probably already have enough bookkeeping knowledge to get started, and you're already working on that QuickBooks certification. So you just need to get a little bit more comfortable with the QuickBooks software, and then I truly think you'll be good to go. You're not going to know as much as I know right now, obviously, but you probably know just as much as I knew back in 2020 whenever I started my business. So you're going to learn everything you need to learn once you get your first client. Like, you're going to learn on the job. You're going to make mistakes, but everybody's going to make mistakes. It's impossible to be perfect. So don't let the fear of like, shoot, I don't know enough, or man, like, I don't have enough experience, I'm not going to get started just yet. Don't have those thoughts, because you need to get started on marketing and sales right away in order for you to even get your first client so that you can expand upon your bookkeeping and QuickBooks experience. I have heard of, yeah, quite a few, I guess, foreign bookkeepers who are trying to work with Americans. Yeah, I think that's a very common thing because labor in other countries is so cheap. People working for $5, $6 an hour in other countries, they turn around, they try to charge Americans 10 or 15 bucks an hour for bookkeeping, which, if you're living in America, you cannot be a freelance bookkeeper working for $15 an hour. So a lot of people in like India and the Philippines and other countries, they try to utilize that cheap labor and work for American companies at 10 or $15 an hour. I primarily offer remote bookkeeping services. However, I do have an office in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and maybe 10% of my clients come to see me in person. Like the majority of my clients just email me statements and documents, and we do everything virtually and remotely. Like I have some clients in Illinois and Maine and Texas and Florida and Arizona. Like I have clients all over the country. Yep. Yeah, they don't. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just be careful about lying. Like, I would never want to start a professional relationship with lying about where I'm located. But like you said, if you're from a particular city and now you just happen to live overseas, like you could definitely market yourself as as a bookkeeper in that city, I think. I mean, I would probably not try to pretend like you're actually in that city just because that's going to get pretty complicated and pretty difficult to maintain that lie, especially when you start working with clients. So for marketing and sales, I have never actually run paid ads with Facebook or Google or any other paid ads before. All of the advertising I have done over the past 3 years has all been organic and free. So unfortunately, I don't have any advice for you on how to run paid ads, but I mean, I'm sure if you wanted to learn about that, I'm sure you could pretty easily learn how to run paid ads. But from a free organic perspective, I definitely have a ton of advice. Obviously, that's how I got to 45 clients per month, and that's how I got to where I am right now. So if you want, I can spend the next like 10 minutes kind of specifically talking about like how I did organic free social media marketing if you want. Okay. So it's a 4-step process. And I'm going to break down all 4 steps more specifically, but just to give you an overview, the 4 steps are: first, you need to create content. Second, you need to find your prospective clients. Third, you need to connect with your prospective clients. And then fourth, you need to engage with your community. So I can break those 4 steps down into greater detail. And I like coach a lot of aspiring bookkeeping business owners, and I tell everybody that you need to set attainable and reasonable goals. So everything I'm going to say, I recommend try to do this for 30 days with the assumption that you're going to continue doing it for 6 months, but just right now set a goal for 30 days. And you need to do this every single day for 30 days. And I always compare it to working out and diet and nutrition. Like a lot of people have tried to get in shape. A lot of people have tried to lose weight. So it's kind of you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. It's a relatable example. Like if you go to the gym for 2 weeks and then you stop, like in 3 months, you're going to be no better off than you were from when you got started. The same concept with marketing. Like if you market on social media really hard for 2 weeks, that's cool. But if you stop in 3 months, you're going to be no better off than where you were in the beginning. So you need to be consistent and you need to think long term with this. So every single day for 30 days, step number 1, you have to create some type of social media marketing content. And I recommend pick one social media platform and just stick with one platform for the first 3 months. That way you don't get overwhelmed. If you're an overachiever, you can do 2 or 3 platforms. I personally do Facebook is my priority. And then I do LinkedIn and Instagram for my daily posts. And then obviously I post these YouTube videos on YouTube. But I post to Facebook every single day. And I've been doing it for 3 years. But whenever I got started, I did the same thing. I wasn't making videos when I got started. So if you don't feel comfortable making videos, don't worry. You don't have to. You just need to create some sort of social media post every single day. It can be just words. It can be a picture with a caption. It could be an infographic. Think about this as a billboard or a TV commercial that you're just publishing for free on your social media to your audience every single day. So you're just recreating a billboard on Facebook every single day. And the posts should be relevant to QuickBooks and bookkeeping and business in general. You want to tell the world that you're a bookkeeping expert, you're a bookkeeping business owner, you're a QuickBooks expert, and you want to provide value to your audience. And the point of doing that is to establish trust and to build your online presence and to establish your online reputation with your audience. So you can imagine if somebody sees you posting every single day about QuickBooks, they're just going to start naturally associating you with being, oh yeah, he's that bookkeeping business owner, or oh yeah, he's that QuickBooks guy. He's always talking about save your receipts and get W-9s and reconcile accounts, blah, blah, blah. This guy's always talking about bookkeeping. And the whole point of that is so that people start to get to know you and start to associate you with being a bookkeeping business owner, because right now nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows that you're a bookkeeping business owner. So the whole point of this is just to get your name out there and establish a reputation. Now, step number one, creating content. That all is useless unless you have an audience. So step number two, you need to find your prospective clients. And the best way to find your prospective clients is to search on Facebook for business owners. And I always tell people to try to target business owners who are close to your geographic region. So for you, that'll be probably Charlotte. And you can do that a couple different ways. I love joining Facebook groups. So I would recommend, just to give you kind of like tangible metrics and tangible goals, if I were you, try to join 5 Facebook groups relevant to Charlotte with more than 5,000 members in them. And then what you can do is once you join these Facebook groups, you can go to the members who are in the group, and then you can actually sort through all of the members, and you can try to identify who the business owners are in those Facebook groups. And then you need to, on top of creating a post every day, you need to friend request 50 people every single day on Facebook from Charlotte who are business owners. So that's probably going to take you 20 minutes to create the post, 10 minutes to find those 50 business owners. So right now you're looking at 30 minutes every single day for 30 days. And then steps 3 and 4. Step 3, once you've found prospective clients, you need to connect with prospective clients. So that's kind of steps 2 and 3 at the same time. You're finding them, and then you're connecting with them, sending those friend requests. And then step number 4, you need to engage with your audience. So I always compare this to, imagine you go to a networking event in person and you show up, you're wearing your nice business suit and you just got a fresh haircut and you sit in the corner and don't talk to anybody. Like, that's a pointless use of your time because you're not actually making those connections at the networking event. It's the same concept with showing up on Facebook and not really doing anything, not really talking to anybody, not really engaging with your community. So once you've made your post, once you've sent your friend request, you need to spend another 10 to 15 minutes engaging with your Facebook friends. And I know it might kind of sound cheesy and annoying, and like it might not sound like something you want to do, but you need to view this as a legitimate task in your business. Like, you're not scrolling through Facebook to catch up with your buddies from college or to watch highlights from last week's football game. Like, you are doing this to grow your business. So you just need to switch your mindset when you're thinking about social media. Like, this is for the growth of your business, not for pleasure. So once you change your mindset, you kind of like, okay, like, I'm going to block off an hour every day in my calendar to actually focus on my social media marketing. So 20 minutes to create the content, 10 minutes to send the friend requests, and then 20 minutes to engage with your audience. And it's something as simple as commenting on your fellow Facebook friends, like, hey, love to see the success, or hey, great job, or hey, you're crushing it, or hey, awesome job. And you can throw in a couple emojis. It could be as simple as that, or it could be like a longer, like 1 or 2 sentence post if you know the person a little bit better. But you're basically just establishing relationships and building trust with these people, because you are going to be sending 50 friend requests every day. So you are going to be connecting with a lot of strangers. So for the few people who do accept your friend request, like, they have no idea who you are, but you need to view them as a prospective client. And take it a step further, like, you need to start viewing all of them as not friends, but, business acquaintances. Like, you being a business owner, now you need to be a member of this community, and that community is business owners in Charlotte. Like, you need to start associating yourself with these people, getting to know these people. It might be fake at first, but like, honestly, over the past 3 years, I have genuinely built like somewhat real relationships with these Facebook people who I'm friends with and who I interact with on a weekly basis. So that's really the 4-step process, and you really have to do it every single day for 30 days. The other thing I want to mention real quick about the content that you're creating in step number one, it doesn't need to be earth shattering or life changing content. It just needs to be simple enough that it's relevant to bookkeeping and QuickBooks and business. It needs to be simple enough and relatable enough that people just see it, they gloss over it, they read it real quick, and they just like, oh, yep, that's the bookkeeping guy. Yep, that's the QuickBooks guy. So don't spend hours trying to make perfect content, because honestly, only 10 people are going to see it in the first 30 days anyway. You're really just kind of practicing. Like I have been continuing to practice creating content over the past 3 years to now. Sometimes I make a post and it gets 100 likes on Facebook. And I was not there 3 years ago, but I've kind of learned like what does well and what doesn't do well. So don't view these next 30 days of your social media marketing content, don't view that as like, oh, I got to put out the best, most viral, awesome post. Just put out something, keep it reasonable. And you also want to keep it easy enough that you actually stick with it. Because if you spend 2 hours today trying to make a post, tomorrow comes around, you're like, man, I don't want to spend another 2 hours. Like, I don't have that kind of time. You should only be spending 10 minutes a day on these posts. Should you stick to one city? I think you should stick to Charlotte. There are plenty of people in Charlotte, I think. Maybe Charlotte. So is Charlotte in South Carolina or North Carolina? Yeah. So maybe so like I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So like I might do Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. So like maybe you could do the whole state of North Carolina, or like North Carolina and South Carolina. But I would definitely stick to that geographical region. Yeah, I mean, there's just plenty of people, so you might as well just keep it to that area. I think it'll just be easier for you to build trust and build connections. I mean, like if you find a business owner in Dallas, Texas, like you can friend request them, but I would just stick to because I would stick to the Facebook groups in those areas, because there are millions of Facebook groups. Like you don't really want to spread yourself too thin. Like just stick to the Facebook groups in Charlotte, in North Carolina, in South Carolina, and just target that area. Maybe in 3 months, 6 months, if you really feel like you want to expand out, maybe go to Richmond, Virginia, maybe go down to Savannah, Georgia. But I would still try to stick to places like close to the East Coast, close to the South. I do not have a niche with the industry who I service. I work with restaurant owners, software companies, advertising agencies, trucking companies, general contractors, real estate investors, and so on and so forth. I work with a bunch of different types of businesses. I don't think anybody should necessarily have a niche in the beginning. The only time I think anybody should get a niche is if you've got yourself 10 or 20 clients and you're like, hey, I'm good with where I am. And I've actually identified, like, I love working with restaurant owners. So if you love working with restaurant owners, or if you get really good at working with general contractors or real estate investors, then maybe you can be like, hey, I'm only going to start accepting new clients who are restaurant owners. That would be a good time to get a niche, but I just feel like it would be so silly for you to say, hey, I'm only accepting restaurant owners as my clients, but then this real estate investor wants to pay you $1,000 a month to do his bookkeeping. But you're like, no, sorry, I only work with restaurant owners. Like if you have no clients, how silly would it be for you to deny this potential client just because you only want to work with restaurant owners? The only other time that you could get a niche is if you wanted to pick one specific platform and target your marketing to a specific group of people. Like for example, what I did on my YouTube channel, I made a ton of videos specific to trucking companies. And so that was kind of my niche on YouTube. However, like my website, my Facebook page, my Instagram, I was still marketing to everybody, but on one platform, I did tailor my marketing to one specific group of people. The other type of niche you can have is the services you provide and the software that you work with. For example, I don't do taxes, I don't do payroll, I only do bookkeeping, and I don't work with QuickBooks Desktop, I don't work with Xero, I don't work with Sage, which is other bookkeeping software. I only work with QuickBooks Online. So you could say I have a niche with the services that I provide and the software that I work with.